I'm George Barker, and I'm a Democratic nominee for State Senate in a district in the southern part of Fairfax County and the northern part of Prince William County. I've been running hard all year long, going door to door back last winter in the ice and snow. I decided to run for the State Senate because I found that there were a lot of issues, a lot of areas where I found that Virginia was not doing what it needed to do to really fully serve the citizens of Virginia, and particularly the citizens of Northern Virginia. And I felt that I had the skills and the expertise in subject areas and the experience really to get things done and can make a difference down there and do a lot better job representing our area in the state legislature than what I'm seeing right now. So I've been campaigning hard and things are looking good. We're enjoying it. I think part of what has prepared me very well to be a state senator and be someone who can hit the ground running, be effective on day one, is that I know the area very well, I know the people, I know the issues that are important to people within our area in Fairfax and Prince William counties, but I also know the subject matter of the major issues that face Northern Virginia. I've been heavily involved in transportation issues, for example, for the last 15 years or so in Northern Virginia. The last 6 years I've been chair of Fairfax County's Transportation Commission. I've been dealing with land use issues in a number of different capacities. I'm currently vice chair of the task force replanning all of Tyson's Corner, which is a tremendous challenge, but also a tremendous opportunity to correct some of the problems and get things right now. I've been PTA president, heavily involved in education issues. Was PTA president at both two different high schools, Robinson and Mount Vernon High School, where our children went to school. And I'm involved in a number of other issues related to education in the community. And I've been working in health planning for the last 32 years, planning for hospitals, nursing homes, and other services in Northern Virginia, which gives me a good feel for a lot of different issues and things that are important to people in the area. The civil remedial fees, which are also known as Virginia's driver's fees, also sometimes called the abuser fees, shows you how the legislative process sometimes breaks down and goes in the wrong direction on things. I think they should be repealed, and I think that if I'm elected, I expect in January they will be repealed. There's clearly been a hue and outcry of citizens against these types of fees. What happened was that we have huge transportation issues in Northern Virginia, as everybody knows. Indicated earlier, I chair the county's Transportation Commission. So I deal with it not only personally, trying to drive in Northern Virginia, get around Northern Virginia, but also as someone who's developed some of the plans that can really make things a lot better. We've gotten plans approved by the Fairfax Board of Supervisors that would make tremendous improvements in transportation. But those plans have largely been sitting on the shelf because there hasn't been the support and the funding coming from Richmond or the legislation needed to get things done in our area. What has been frustrating has been that year after year, there have been bills that have been proposed in the General Assembly that would make a big difference, but our state senator, Jay O'Brien, has consistently opposed those types of things. What ended up happening was that as legislators such as Senator O'Brien saw that they were vulnerable because they weren't addressing our transportation problems, they began grasping at straws, trying to find something that they felt could at least appease the public and give the appearance of addressing transportation, even if it didn't make a big difference. One of the things that came out of that was these Virginia driver's fees. There was legislation put in last year that was a bill specifically on the Virginia driver's fees, and Senator O'Brien was the only senator out of all 40 in the state Senate that signed on as a sponsor of that bill. He did it out of desperation, trying to find something. What clearly is the case, however, was that they overreached and they did something that people find as unacceptable. Rather than setting the fees and fines associated with this at levels that were commensurate with the offenses committed, they set them at several times what they should be for those types of offenses in most instances, simply to try to raise money for transportation. So the fines and fees became something not as a punishment or as a preventive measure directed at safe driving, but simply as a backdoor measure to try to raise funds for transportation. And the public has rallied against that. The strong feeling that I get in talking with voters is that people recognize that it's important to have fines and fees related to offenses that are committed be reasonable for the types of things that are committed, not to be several times that, in some instances over $3,000. Those are simply untenable from the public perspective. It was not something that was a novel idea, but we were not the first state to pass legislation along this line. There have been a couple of other states that have tried this, and what they found is that they have been absolute disasters. In Texas, for example, less than 30% of the fines that are levied are actually collected. What you have is situations where large numbers of people don't have the income and the resources to be able to pay those fines. So consequently, they can't pay the fines, they don't pay the fines, the licenses get suspended. What happens? They continue to drive. So what you end up with is the worst of all possible situations, and you have a number of people who no longer have a driver's license driving around, so you have unlicensed drivers on the road, At the same time, you haven't collected any substantial amount of money to address transportation issues as was proposed here in Virginia. So you haven't solved those problems. Plus, you're getting up clogging up our court systems, because a lot of cases that now, for types of offenses that now people plead guilty to, pay their fines, and that's the end of it. There's never a need to appear in court. People are taking those cases to court. So it's going to cost a lot to administer the program based upon the experience in other states. We're not going to collect very much money out of it. It may end up actually costing us more money than what we collect. So rather than producing revenue for transportation, it may actually be a drain on the total system.